Hidden generosity exposed, struggling boy's incredible journey to repay $5,000 to a touching widow. Jake Harper's heart raced as he stood in the empty living room, the silence heavy against his chest. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him like 1,000 bricks. At just 15, the shadows of eviction loomed larger than life after his father's unexpected passing. His mother's fragile spirit needed support, and he was determined to lift her burden, if only to see her smile again. He would never let them fall through the cracks, not now, not ever. Every corner of their little suburban home echoed memories of laughter that faded too soon. Bills piled on the kitchen table, bills that whispered urgency. The idea of losing their home felt like a dark cloud closing in. Jake could feel the desperation gnawing at him, but something inside urged him to fight, to take action. He mapped out a plan: odd jobs, anything he could hustle to keep them afloat. Mowing lawns, washing cars, and selling handmade trinkets at local markets popped into his head like manic fireflies on a summer night. With every job he took, Jake felt a part of him blossom. He mowed lawns under the scorching sun, his clothes drenched in sweat. But each snip of the grass felt like he was carving a little piece of security for his mother. Just a few more dollars, he whispered to himself, determination coursing through him like adrenaline. The prejudice from classmates stung more than the sweat dripping down his back. Look at him, washing cars instead of playing ball, they scoffed. But what they didn't see was the fierce pride in Jake's answers to their judgment, a pride forged from love and resilience. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Just when Jake imagined his hard work paying off, his world spun with trouble. A chance encounter with a local bully turned into an explosive misunderstanding. Names were thrown, insults flew, and in an instant, Jake could feel the community's eyes shift from respect to ridicule. He stood at a crossroads. Would he retreat into the shadows, or defend his honor? The judgments echoed around him, but it was the reflection of himself in their eyes that shook him the most. Then, in the midst of that storm, Jake stumbled onto a hidden truth. Mrs. Thompson, their kind neighbor, had quietly intervened when the eviction notice had first arrived. Unbeknownst to him, she had lent them $5,000, thus saving their home. The revelation left him reeling. Here was this hero in plain sight, someone who believed in him and his mother without fanfare. If only he had known, he thought. The bonds of community were deeper than he had ever imagined, hiding strength among the fragility. As he gathered the courage to face the bully, determination filled Jake's spirit anew. There was more at stake than his pride. It was about his place in a community that was beginning to see him for who he really was. The world he'd been named a part of was larger than just his burdens. Would he embrace this hidden generosity? The questions burdening him felt heavier than ever. But Jake knew one thing: his journey to repay that unexplained debt would reshape everything he knew about honor, identity, and how to truly belong. With every ounce of his being, he resolved to rise to the challenge, even if the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. What would he discover about himself along the way? Jake stepped outside, the sun casting sharp, warm light over the neighborhood. It felt like the universe was rallying behind him, urging him onward. Yet, despite the warmth, he felt a chill creeping up his spine. As he walked down the street, he couldn't help but replay the confrontation with the bully in his head. What would he say? How could he ever hope to stand up for himself? With every step, the faces of his classmates flashed through his mind, each taunt and sneer replaying like a broken record. Was I really weak? He thought. But then Mrs. Thompson came to mind, her kindness forcing the darkness to recede just a little. This wasn't just about him anymore. He was part of something bigger, a wave of support he hadn't realized existed. Could he make Mrs. Thompson proud, show her that the faith she placed in him wasn't misplaced? The afternoon air was electric with possibility. He thought back to all those hours he'd spent working, earning every dime he could. What good would it do if he didn't stand tall? As he approached the park, his heart began to race. Jake paused on the edge of the playground, where the bully Sam was showing off to a group of kids, laughter erupting like firecrackers against the crisp air. In that moment, everything clicked. He wasn't alone. He had the support of an entire neighborhood ready to lift him up if he fell. But confronting Sam wouldn't just be for himself, it would be for every kid who felt small, diminished by a cruel word or snicker. Taking a deep breath, he approached the group. Their laughter quieted, eyes turning towards him like moths to a flame. Jake felt exposed, his knees jittery, but the fire within him burned hotter. "Sam," he called out, his voice shaking but resolute. Sam's grin vanished as he turned to face Jake, sizing him up. "What do you want, Harper? Looking to get embarrassed again?" Jake swallowed hard, eyes steadying on Sam. "I want to talk." A silence fell, rippling through the crowd. The moment felt surreal. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears, and he wondered if he'd made a mistake. "What, you gonna cry now? Is that it?" Sam jeered, his followers snickering behind him. The taunts weren't as sharp as they once were. Jake looked past them, seeing the neighborhood, seeing Mrs. Thompson's smiling face, seeing the house they'd saved, seeing the love in his mother's eyes. His fists clenched, determination igniting a spark deep within. "No. I'm not here to cry," Jake said firmly. "I'm here to stand up for myself. I deserve to be treated better, like everyone else." There was a wavering moment, a flicker of something in Sam's eyes, confusion, maybe even doubt. "And who do you think you are?" He shot back, but his bravado faltered. "I'm Jake Harper. I work hard for my family. I'm not ashamed of that, and I won't let anyone push me around anymore." "You think you're tough? Try being tough out there in the real world." Jake's heart surged with each word. Sam's smirk wavered, doubt creeping in. Could it be that Jake's words were starting to carry weight? Just as he felt the tide shift, someone called from the crowd. "Hey, let's see what else he's got." It was a friend from school. Jake's heart raced again, but it wasn't from fear anymore, it was the pulse of potential rising in him. Would this stand swing momentum in his favor, or was he simply pushing against an unyielding wall? Jake sensed the tide might be turning, but he would need to muster all his courage to see it through. What could this moment mean for him, and would he finally claim his place in the community or stumble back into shadows? The air was thick with tension, and Jake felt the weight of every curious gaze on him. Sam was staring, jaw tight. For a split second, Jake thought he'd see a hint of respect, but envy quickly masked it. The crowd waited, the anticipation electric, a collective breath held. "All right, champ," Sam sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Show me what you got then. Let us see this big stand-up act." Friends shrank back, some giggled nervously, but others leaned forward, eager to catch the drama. Jake's heart pumped wildly, but he held on to the flame inside him. He took a step closer, his voice steadying. "You think this is a joke? I'm not playing around, Sam. I'm done being scared of you." "Boo-hoo. Cry me a river," Sam shot back, trying to regain control, but Jake sensed the shifting energy. Laughter erupted around them, but this time he noticed those who stood with him, and their determination shined through the crowd. "Maybe it's time," Jake said, "for everyone to see what a coward you really are." The words hung in the air, and Jake felt lighter, as if he had just unleashed a spell. Sam's eyes flared, and for the first time, he seemed uncertain. The laughter faded slightly, it felt like the crowd was readying for something more. "Is that what you think?" Sam growled, fists clenching. "You're still just a little kid playing hero." "Maybe," Jake replied, "but even kids have to grow up someday. You're stuck in playground antics, while I'm already moving forward. What are you gonna do? You think someone else gonna fight your battles for you?" Sam barked back. The crowd, feeling the tension, murmured, some began whispering Jake's name, a name they could start to rally behind. "I'm not looking for a fight, Sam," Jake said, voice clear despite the rustling of growing doubts. "I want to show that it's weak to put people down just to feel strong. Real strength? It's lifting someone up." The silence stretched out, dense and heavy. Jake signaled with his eyes to the friend who had cheered him on, then pointed to nearby kids watching. They were piecing together the message, reflecting in their eyes. He felt his heart soar just a little. It was working. Sam's smirk faltered, confusion flickering. Just then, a little girl pushed through the crowd, her voice small yet brave. "My brother said you pick on him, Sam. You make him feel sad." Jake turned and caught the sincere gaze of the girl, her tiny frame standing tall like a shield. He felt a rush of hope. "You all have a voice too. We can be the change right here." Finally, the crowd responded. Some kids shouted in support, while others nodded, rallying behind the unexpected show of resolve. Sam's bravado cracked like a fragile glass. "You think this changes anything? You've still got nothing." "No, I have everything, Sam. I have friends, I have support, and I have the courage to fight for what's right." For the first time, Sam didn't seem so invincible. He took a step back, uncertainty painted across his face. The kids continued to rally, their voices a growing tide against his. Jake glanced around, catching the eyes of his classmates, the realization hitting him like a thunderbolt. He wanted this change for everyone. Suddenly, being small didn't feel like a curse, it felt like a chance to build something new, together. "Let us all be brave." Someone called out, the call echoing into the spaces left vacant by fear. As the laughter grew into cheers, Jake's heart raced with joy. He was finally standing tall. But what came next? Would Sam accept his challenge, or lash out one last time? Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was just around the corner. The cheers rang in Jake's ears like music. He felt a rush of adrenaline, a mix of joy and liberation. He had stood up, not just for himself but for everyone who had felt small, overlooked, or scared. But the moment was far from over. Sam's glare narrowed, and the volatile atmosphere shifted. A storm was brewing behind those clenched fists. "Brave, huh?" Sam said slowly, each word dripping with disdain. "You think these kids will still cheer when I'm done with you?" He stepped forward, fists now raised, but Jake could see the faltering confidence lurking behind Sam's bravado. Jake held his ground. His heart raced, but he felt a surge of calm wash over him. "You're all talk, Sam. They're not here to see you bully me anymore." There was a glint in his eye, something like defiance, something like hope. The crowd absorbed the tension, eyes flickering between Jake and Sam as a thick silence fell. Some of Jake's friends moved closer, ready to support him, and that solidified his courage even further. "Maybe you can try to hurt me," Jake continued, voice steady, "but hurting people is what makes you weak. I won't let you take that power from me. Not anymore." Sam's lips pressed into a tight line. "You really think that this little pep talk is gonna change everything? You're too naive, Jake. You think being brave makes you invincible." "Maybe not invincible," Jake replied, "but it makes me free." He turned slightly, gesturing to the kids around them, who were now looking up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. "You guys, can you feel it? We're stronger together." The laughter from just moments before, the energy of the group, surged back. "Stronger together." Someone echoed from the crowd, and that call sparked a ripple effect. Jake could see cracks in Sam's facade. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty flickered in his eyes, and doubts broke through the bravado he had wielded like a shield. "Maybe I don't have the strength to take you down," Sam conceded, his voice lower, "but I can still make your life miserable." "What kind of strength is that?" Jake shot back. "The strength to be a bully? The kind where you have to push someone down to stand tall?" The crowd shifted again. Murmurs of assent broke out. Jake felt galvanizing support all around him. He had ignited something deeper than just resistance. He'd awakened a collective spirit. With newfound vigor, a girl in the front spoke up, "We can help each other instead." "Sam, stop being a bully." "Yeah. We want to stand together." Another boy shouted, emboldening the masses. Jake turned to Sam, voice low but powerful. "You see? It's over. This ends now." Sam took a deep breath, but Jake could see the worry creeping into his demeanor. The crowd was shifting, and he knew they had reached a critical moment. But just then, Sam's eyes narrowed once more, that old spark igniting. "Who's gonna stop me?" "You." A little kid with a fluffy speech. The sudden threat in his voice sent a chill through Jake. Was this a chance for reconciliation, or was Sam about to lash out? Jake stood, unwavering. "We will. Together." But would their unity be enough to face the storm brewing within Sam? As the cheers rose, so did Jake's uncertainty. The moment stretched thin, charged with a question that hung over them: what would happen if Sam chose to fight back instead of step down? In that charged moment, the world around Jake seemed to fade. The cheers were still present, but they felt distant, like echoes in a vast canyon. His focus was solely on Sam, whose anger simmered just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. The seconds felt like hours as he steeled himself, preparing for whatever might come next. Sam stood still, fists clenched and breathing hard, the color creeping up his neck. The crowd sensed the intensity, murmurs weaving through the masses, waves of anxiety mixed with hope. Jake could feel their collective energy, a powerful support that wrapped around him like a safety net. "Look," Sam said, shaking his head, "you think this group of losers can protect you? They'll turn on you just like that if it benefits them. I've seen it happen." Jake's heart sank for a brief moment at Sam's words. Could he be right? Would his friends back down when faced with real danger? But then, Jake remembered their faces, the way they rallied together, the spark of bravery ignited by his words. He wouldn't let fear poison this moment. "That's not true," he replied defiantly. "We will stand by each other. We're stronger when we support one another, not tear each other down." Something flickered in Sam's eyes: anger, yes, but also confusion. It was as if Jake's defiance pulled back a curtain, revealing cracks in Sam's bravado. He was starting to realize the grip he had over the crowd was slipping. "You think you can change me with those words?" Sam said, voice trembling slightly. "You think being nice makes you stronger?" "No, but it makes us better," Jake shot back. "Being a bully just shows how weak you really are. You're scared, and now you're trying to make us scared too. But it won't work." The crowd murmured again, this time more passionately. Jake could see determination flickering in their eyes. "We're not scared of you." Someone shouted, and another echoed, "This is our time." As the chants rose, Sam's confidence wavered. "You think this is over? You think one speech is going to change everything?" His tone was desperate now, the bravado melting away into something more vulnerable. "Maybe not everything," Jake said softly, "but it's a start. Don't you want something different, Sam? Don't you want to feel respected? Loved? What's it like to always be angry?" Jake stepped forward, meeting Sam eye to eye. In that moment, he saw a flicker of something more, a longing for connection that Sam had buried beneath layers of rage. The crowd leaned in closer, quieting, listening to the tension building between them. "Maybe I'm just tired of feeling alone," Sam finally muttered, the fight momentarily gone from his stance. There was an unexpected vulnerability in his voice, and Jake felt a spark of hope. "Then let us in," Jake urged, breaking the tension. "It's not too late, Sam. You can change. We can help you. You don't have to be alone anymore." Time stopped as Sam's expression shifted, confusion clouding his features. The crowd held its breath, waiting for his response. In that heavy silence, Jake felt the weight of possibility hanging in the air. Would Sam choose to reach for connection or retreat back into the shadow of his bullying? But just as Jake thought he saw a breakthrough, Sam's expression hardened again. "You think you can change me? I won TB that week." He shouted suddenly, eyes blazing. The crowd buzzed in anticipation, caught between hope and fear. Would Sam lash out after all? Or could there be a fracture in the storm that raged within him? Jake's heart raced again. It wasn't over yet, the real battle was just beginning. Jake held his breath. Sam's words cut through the air like a knife, sharp and deadly. The tension tightened around them, a palpable force that made everyone restless. Jake's heart hammered in his chest, but he didn't flinch. He had to hold his ground. "You call being strong what you're doing?" Jake pushed back, feeling adrenaline surging through him. "There's nothing brave about hiding behind anger. Real strength is facing your fears and learning to let people in. That's how you win." Sam's fists unclenched just a bit, his shoulders drooping. It was a small sign, but Jake seized it. "You don't have to fight this fight alone. You've been so focused on pushing others away, and look where that's gotten you. You don't look like a winner, just someone who's afraid of being hurt." For a moment, Sam stood frozen, caught in Jake's fierce gaze. The crowd was electric, hearts beating as one, waiting, hoping. Each face was etched with anticipation, fueled by the potential for anything to change. "Maybe you think you need to keep acting tough," Jake said slowly, choosing his words carefully. "But think about it for a second. What would happen if you just let go? What if you stepped into the light?" Sam glanced at the ground, and Jake could see the struggle within him. It wasn't just anger, it was a mix of fear, sadness, and maybe a longing for something deeper. Behind those hardened eyes lay a boy who had grown tired of playing the villain. Suddenly, a voice broke through the tension. "Sam! You don't have to be like this." A girl from the crowd stepped forward, her eyes wide but unwavering. "We've all been through stuff. We get it. We can help you, too. You don't have to keep pretending." Sam snapped his head up, surprise flashing across his face. The crowd murmured in agreement, including voices Jake recognized, friends he had fought for, friends who believed in second chances. The energy shifted, softening as if the very air around them had become lighter. "Yeah, man," another guy added, his tone supportive. "We're not your enemies. We want to be your friends. You don't have to push us away, we can have each other's backs." Jake saw the flicker of uncertainty in Sam's eyes give way to something else, a glimmer of curiosity mingled with fear. It was as if for the first time, he was truly considering what friendship might feel like instead of merely being a guard against it. Slowly, he took a hesitant step forward, but just as hope dared to blossom, Sam's face twisted again, caught in an internal battle. "But, if I change, then what does that make me? I'll be weak, and no one will respect me. I've built myself up on being someone else." "No," Jake interrupted with urgency. "You'll be strong in a way that matters. Being yourself is always stronger than hiding behind that mask. It's not about being tough, it's about being brave enough to step into who you're meant to be." There was a flicker in Sam's gaze. Jake's heart pounded with hope, but fear still lingered. Would Sam hear him? Would he take that step toward a new beginning, or would he retreat back to anger and isolation? The crowd shifted in anticipation, their eyes locked on Sam as if he were the sun, and they were the planets, waiting for that one moment of light. "Maybe I don't want to be alone anymore," Sam finally muttered, voice trembling ever so softly, barely audible yet heavy with emotion. The air was thick with tension, every heart racing toward the possibility of healing. Would this be the turning point? Would Sam let down his walls, or would he choose to remain in the dark? As they all held their breath, the real question echoed in Jake's mind: what would it take for Sam to finally trust? Would they finally reach him before it was too late? The air was heavy with uncertainty as Sam's words lingered in the crowd. Everyone held their breath, hoping for a breakthrough, for that fleeting moment where vulnerability might trump pride. Jake stepped closer, his pulse racing. You can be brave, he urged, softening his tone. We've all got scars. We carry them with us. But those scars, they don't define us. They're just a part of our story. Let them be your strength, not your weakness. Sam took a shaky breath. The walls he had built around himself felt ready to crumble, yet he hesitated, fighting against the tide of emotion washing over him. The faces in the crowd were genuine, filled with compassion instead of judgment. For the first time in ages, the prospect of connection felt more appealing than isolation. I just don't know if I can, Sam whispered, vulnerability pouring from him. What if I show you all who I really am, and you don't like it? Jake felt a surge of determination. Then we'll help you figure it out. None of us are perfect, Sam. We're all just trying to make sense of our own messes. And I promise, we'll be there for you, no matter what that looks like. A soft murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. It was as if each word Jake spoke wrapped around Sam, pulling him away from the darkness. The tension in the air shifted, no longer suffocating but alive with possibility. The pause felt like an eternity, and just when it seemed Sam might step back, he took a breath, a deep and shaky one. Jake saw his eyes glisten with unshed tears, and it shattered the pretense that had long shielded him. I don't want to fight anymore, he admitted, the strength behind his voice faltering as he leaned toward some unguarded part of himself. You don't have to, Jake replied. Just let yourself feel, even if it hurts. That's where the real healing starts. Sam nodded slowly, vulnerability melting his hardened facade. Jake could see the change in him, a flicker of understanding, a spark of hope igniting behind the walls he had constructed. The crowd surged forward, their clapping a thunderous echo to Jake's heart. His friends began to cheer for Sam, every sound a lifeline. Then, something unexpected happened. From the back of the crowd, an older woman stepped forward. Her hair was white, and her face bore the gentleness of someone who had lived through storms yet chose to smile. She spoke softly, but her words were clear. Sam, you don't have to go through this alone. We're a community. We support each other. He looked at her, this woman he didn't know, and something deep within him began to shift. She was offering him redemption without the need for conditions. That gesture, being open and generous, hit him like a wave. Can I trust you? Sam's voice quivered as he faced the audience. Jake felt a wave of urgency rise within him again. This was the moment, the defining moment of Sam's journey. Trust takes time, Sam. But you can start by just being here and sharing what you feel. As Sam opened his mouth to respond, a moment of stillness hung in the air. Every person in attendance knew they were standing on the edge of something profound. Would Sam take the leap? Just when it seemed every eye was on him, Sam turned around, scanning the faces around him. The murmurs quieted as he took another deep breath. Okay, I'll try. I know I have a lot to learn. A collective sigh of relief surged through the group, hope blooming and spreading like wildfire. But just as Sam began to step toward the crowd, a loud crash echoed from behind them, pulling everyone's attention away from the fragile breakthrough. The atmosphere shifted again, the energy snapping taut as they all turned to see what had interrupted. Jake's heart dropped as he glanced back at Sam, who was now caught between a moment of hope and a sudden, unexpected challenge. What would happen next? Would this new beginning be threatened right when it had a chance to soar? Jake's heart raced as he scanned the crowd, searching for the source of the noise. It had come from the parking lot adjacent to the park where they stood. A metal trash can had toppled over, spilling its contents, a cascade of crumpled papers, discarded cups, and fast food wrappers. The clatter echoed against the backdrop of Sam's fragile moment, grounding them all in reality once again. Megan! Someone shouted from the back. A young girl, blonde and freckled, rushed forward. Her expression was a mix of fear and concern, and she quickly followed the sound of clattering debris. Sam stood frozen, his hope teetering on the edge of panic. Jake stepped toward him, their eyes locking. It's okay, he whispered, though even he felt the tension. Just breathe. As the commotion settled, Megan knelt to gather the trash, her hands deftly tossing the items back into the can. The sight made some in the audience chuckle, breaking the uneasy atmosphere. Someone shouted encouragement, a reminder they all shared, even the smallest action matters. "See?" Jake said, turning back to Sam. "We all mess up sometimes. It's part of being human." Sam shifted his gaze, still processing. The warmth of the crowd, the acceptance from the older woman, the camaraderie displayed by Megan, all these things created a fortifying feeling within him. "I didn't mean to stop everything," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What you're feeling is real," Jake said, stepping closer. "And it's important. Just let yourself experience it, all right?" Taking another deep breath, Sam glanced at the scattered papers on the ground. One of the sheets caught his eye, fluttering in the gentle breeze. It was a flyer for a local charity run. The bold print called out, "Help us help others." Suddenly, an idea sparked in his mind, igniting a flicker of determination in his chest. When the crowd grew quiet again, Sam cleared his throat, catching their attention. "I know I have a lot to learn about trusting everyone, and I have no idea where to start," he began, each word hesitant but stronger than the last. "But I want to help. Maybe I could organize something. A way for us to all work together to support those in need." The crowd murmured, some smiling brightly while others exchanged glances of surprise. This was unexpected but exactly the kind of bravery they had been hoping to cultivate within Sam. Jake's heart swelled with pride. "That's amazing, Sam!" shouted a voice from the back. "You'd really do that?" "Yes," Sam nodded, his voice growing steadier. "I want to give back, especially to those who've given so much to me. Maybe we could help the community, or even support that widow's charity I saw mentioned somewhere." The idea hung in the air, shimmering with possibility. Sam could see at the gathering, the energy buzzing as they all came together for a cause. He felt something shift deep within, a yearning for connection that chased away the lingering shadows of doubt. But as he began to share his vision, the loud crash of another errant car door broke the moment again. The sound echoed, this time more ominous than before. Jake turned, feeling that familiar surge of tension ripple through the crowd once more. "What is going on now?" he mused, concern etching lines upon his forehead. Would this new spark of hope be snuffed out before it could ignite? The air thickened with anticipation, holding its breath for the next moment. Sam was on the brink of transformation, but uncertainty lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. Could he push through, or would fear drag him back into the shadows? Sam's journey could still take a surprising turn. Would he find the courage he needed, or would he stand paralyzed by doubt once more? As the last echoes of the car door slammed into the background, the crowd shifted uneasily. Sam's heart thudded louder in his chest, vibrating with a mix of hope and fear. He scanned their faces, searching for a signal, a smile, a nod, anything to reassure him that his words had been worthwhile. Jake leaned closer. "Focus on what you can control," he whispered, his voice steady. "You're doing great, Sam. Don't let a little noise drown out the good you're trying to share." Taking a deep breath, Sam steadied himself again. He remembered the widow's gentle smile from the community board meeting, the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke about her late husband and the kindness he had shown. It had made him feel something, then something profound. Perhaps it was time to channel that feeling into a real mission. The charity run, he started again, his voice more confident as he looked up. It could be more than just raising money. It could be about bringing us together, creating community. In front of him, a woman with kind eyes raised her hand. "What if we organize a bake sale? People love cookies. It's a fun way to bring everyone in." There were murmurs of agreement. Sam's heart soared. "Yes. We can get local businesses involved, and they could donate goods or even sponsor the event. It'll give us something to rally around." With every cheer and every nod, Sam began to paint a picture. He visualized tables covered in colorful treats, families laughing, kids running around, all united for a single cause. A sense of warmth spread in his chest, pushing back the fear that had threatened to creep back in. "Can we include activities?" a teenager called out. "Maybe games for the kids?" Sam grinned. "Absolutely. We can have a raffle too. There could be prizes donated by local stores. It'll be a blast." He glanced over at Jake, who looked back with a mixture of astonishment and pride. In that moment, Sam felt something flip inside him. It was as if a switch had turned on, igniting a flame that pushed him toward empowerment instead of retreat, but then, just as he found his footing, the sound of yelling broke through the initial excitement. A group of teenagers sprinted past, their arms flailing as they sprinted towards the parking lot. Sam's stomach sank. "Hey! What is going on?" Jake called, concern etched across his face. The crowd's chatter faded as everyone's attention shifted to the chaos. Panic rippled through them like a wave, and Sam felt a familiar wave of anxiety crash over him. A knot formed in his throat, threatening to swallow the hope he had built moments ago. Could this be the moment where it all fell apart? "Let's check it out," Jake said, moving toward the source of the commotion. Sam hesitated, his feet rooted to the ground like heavy stones. The warmth he had just felt seemed to ebb away amidst the rising chaos. "Sam, see Mon," Jake urged, his voice carrying over the growing noise. Taking another deep breath, Sam took a step forward. The crowd was shifting, the energy morphing into something frantic. He felt a surge of determination fight against his fear. This was a setback, not the end. If they could lift one another, there was no telling how far they could go, but as he moved with Jake, his heart pounded harder, echoing a question he didn't want to acknowledge. What if this was just the beginning of something much darker? "Stay close," Jake said, leading the way. With every hurried step, Sam felt the stakes rising. Whatever was happening, it felt significant, a test he wasn't prepared for. Would he rise to the challenge, or would the crowd's fear pull him back into the shadows? The excitement and anxiety throbbed around them, mixing together in a pulse of uncertainty. Would they face this together, or were they about to uncover something that would challenge everything they had just built? Jake and Sam pushed through the crowd towards the parking lot, fear and adrenaline coursing through their veins. The shouts grew louder, and a sense of urgency swelled in Jake's chest. Just moments ago, they had felt the hope of community igniting, and now it felt like a storm was threatening to sweep it all away. As they emerged from the park, what met their eyes sent a jolt through them. A group of kids had gathered around, pointing and whispering in panic. A boy named Ethan was down on the pavement, clutching his ankle, tears streaming down his face. "I fell," he cried out, his voice raw with pain. "I think I hurt myself." Sam's heart raced, the looming chaos around him suddenly felt different. This was real. A friend needed help. He looked over at Jake, who nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. They stepped closer, their fear shifting into action. "Ethan." Jake rushed forward, kneeling beside the boy. "What happened? Can you move your foot?" I slipped on some gravel," Ethan stammered, his breaths quick and shallow. Sam felt the knot of anxiety tightening in his gut, but he couldn't let it take control. They needed to help, and this was their moment. "We're going to get you up, buddy," Jake said with a reassuring smile, his voice calm and steady, a soothing balm in the midst of chaos. "Just breathe." As Jake tried to gauge Ethan's injury, Sam turned to the growing crowd. "We need someone to call an adult," he shouted. "A parent or a teacher." The vibrations of the demand snapped several kids from their stupor, and a few nodded, running off towards the park to fetch help. Sam returned his focus to Jake and Ethan. "You're going to be okay, man," he said, kneeling down next to them. He felt a surge of determination rush through him. This was what it meant to be a part of something. This was about lifting each other up. Ethan winced, trying to shift his weight. "I feel stupid for falling, guys." "Hey, don't say that," Jake said, frowning slightly. "It happens to everyone." The important thing is we're here now. Before long, 2 teachers arrived, pushing through the formed crowd, worry lining their faces. Ms. Rivera knelt beside Ethan, taking control of the situation. "All right, Ethan, let us see what we can do, okay? We'll get you taken care of." "Sam, Jake, thank you for being here with him," she said appreciatively, her eyes warm with gratitude. As the teachers tended to Ethan, Sam felt something shift within him. Each breath eased the doubt that had been creeping back in. This was what he had wanted, to stand by others when it mattered most. Suddenly, there was a stirring in the crowd. Sam turned to see the older woman, the one with kind eyes, stride forward with purpose. "You're all doing great," she called, her voice projecting warmth and strength. "We're a community, and we help each other, let us show that right now." A ripple of encouragement washed through the kids. Some began whispering among themselves, excited chatter igniting the energy that had been temporarily lost. "What if we bring snacks and water for Ethan?" someone suggested. "We can show him we care." "Yes." More voices chimed in, and a wave of enthusiasm swept through the group. Sam's heart soared. The very thing they had been building came back to life. Ethan would be okay. Sam dared to imagine, what if they turned this moment into something bigger? Jake caught Sam's eye, sharing a radiant smile. "See? This is what we can do together. It's about being there for each other, that's real strength." Gradually, Ethan was lifted onto a makeshift stretcher created from jackets and held steady by a few classmates. As they made their way towards the park, the crowd joined in with cheers, forming a protective barrier of unity around him. Sam was swept up in the collective spirit, the joy, the determination, the compassion. "We're getting you to safety," he called out. "You're not alone." As they continued, he turned back to Jake, hope and excitement bubbling within him. "What if we take this energy back to the charity run?" Sam said, his voice firm with conviction. "We could have the kids organize games and raise funds. This was our moment to show strength, to stand together, even when things get tough." "Absolutely." Jake beamed, full of enthusiasm. "We can do it." Ethan's bravery inspired everyone. And so, as Ethan's cries faded into the distance, the very essence of what they had been fighting for began to crystallize. They were a community, more resilient together than apart. This moment had revealed not just Sam's strength, but the strength of every single soul around them. They were no longer defined by fear or isolation. They were grounded in support, buoyed by unity. The idea of the charity run, of working together, strengthened their resolve. As they returned to the park, Sam felt a rush of hope that washed away the doubts of before. This, he realized, was how they would repay the hidden generosity, staying true to the connection that illuminated their struggles. From that day on, they began their journey together, lifting one another with every effort, rebuilding a place of belonging where kindness reigned. Jake glanced over at Sam and whispered, "Let us make this happen. Together." "Yes," Sam smiled brightly, feeling the warmth envelop him. "We can make a difference." The cheers rose again, echoing into a brightening horizon. They stood together, ready to face whatever came next, fueled by a newfound inner strength that could never be dimmed again. Now is the moment to show your support for these transforming stories. You need to subscribe now so you won't miss our next exclusive adventures. Hit that like button to keep this positive energy flowing. Your clicks make a difference. Comment below and let us know how this ending made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing journey of transformation. Support each other. Your voice matters.